Chapter 1 Arjuna Vishadha Yoga. In this chapter, the great war of Kurukshetra is about to begin. Two armies, the Pandavas and Kauravas, are facing each other. But before the battle starts, something deeper happens. Arjuna, the mighty warrior, sees his family, teachers, and friends on both sides. He is overcome with emotion, such as sorrow, fear, and confusion. This chapter is called Arjuna Vishadha Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despondency. Because in his despair, something beautiful begins, the awakening of spiritual clarity. Let us begin with verse 1. As the war drums begin to echo in the sacred land of Kurukshetra, a deeper scene unfolds. The narrator, Sanjaya, now begins to describe what he sees through divine vision, and so begins the inner war behind the outer battle. Sanjaya said, "O king, after observing the Pandava army arranged in military formation, King Duryodhana approached his teacher Drona and began to speak." On the surface, this verse looks like a simple scene. Duryodhana sees the opposing army and walks towards his teacher. But quietly, something has shifted. He doesn't speak out of strategy, he speaks out of fear. And instead of going inward, he turns outward to a symbol of authority to gain control. This is what many of us do, isn't it? When the strength of others shakes us, we search for something or someone to hold on to. Not truth, but power. Duryodhana hasn't yet spoken a word, but already his mind is at war between fear, pride, and insecurity. So this verse reminds us, even silence carries the weight of ego, and the real battle begins before the first arrow is even fired. As Sanjaya continues, we now hear Duryodhana's first words. Duryodhana said, "Behold, O master, this mighty army of the sons of Pandu, arranged in military formation by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada." At first, this sounds like a simple line of respect. Duryodhana is speaking to his teacher, offering a formal greeting, but beneath the surface, there is something deeper. He calls the army mighty and the formation intelligent, and then he adds a twist. He says, "Your disciple, the son of Drupada." This is not just a statement, it's a subtle stab, a reminder that the man who organized this army was trained by Drona himself and was born to defeat him. This is not admiration, this is emotional pressure dressed as praise. We do this too, don't we? When we feel threatened, we sometimes play on people's emotions to get them on our side, to influence them without asking directly. This verse reminds us, ego doesn't always shout. Sometimes it speaks in polite tones, and fear, when unspoken, often shows up in how we choose our words. Duryodhana now begins listing the warriors on the Pandava side, and with each name, his uneasiness quietly grows. Here in this army, there are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada, the Maharatha. On the surface, this sounds like Duryodhana giving credit to the Pandavas' army. But if you listen closely, it's not respect, it's anxiety. He says equal to Bhima and Arjuna. He's comparing, measuring, trying to convince himself that he's still in control, even when his fear is rising. And then he starts naming names Yuyudhana, Virata, Drupada, one by one, as if listing the weight of his own burden. Each name carries a reputation, each one a symbol of courage and loyalty. But here's the deeper truth. When the mind feels threatened, it focuses on the strength of others instead of remembering its own. We all do this sometimes, don't we? We look around and feel overwhelmed, forgetting the power we carry within. So, this verse reminds us fear doesn't always shout, sometimes it quietly counts everything it's afraid of. Duryodhana continues, one by one, naming those who stand against him, and the list only makes his fear more real. There are also great heroic warriors like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, and the brave king of Kashi, and others like Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Shaibya, the best among men. What begins as a battlefield is now turning into a mirror for Duryodhana's fear. He doesn't just say they have a strong army, he lists names, each one carefully, almost nervously. Drishtaketu, Chekitana, the king of Kashi, Purujit, Kuntiboja, Shaibya. He's not boasting, he's trying to convince himself that he's prepared, but his words reveal something else. It's like when we face a challenge and instead of acting, we keep repeating what we are up against, making it feel bigger than it is. We don't realize that the more we focus on the external threat, the more power we give it. So, this verse reminds us fear doesn't just speak in panic, sometimes it speaks in lists. And the more we name our enemies, the more we forget our inner strength. And still, Duryodhana goes on. His voice doesn't rise, but the weight in his words grows heavier. There are also powerful fighters like Yuddhamanyu, the strong Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi, all great warrior chiefs. It's no longer just a list, it's a slow build-up of pressure inside Duryodhana's mind. He names Yuddhamanyu and Uttamoja powerful defenders. Then he mentions Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra, young, bold, and fearless. And finally, the sons of Draupadi, the next generation of warriors raised in Dharma. It's almost as if Duryodhana is watching his fears multiply generation after generation. He's surrounded by names that carry meaning, legacy, righteousness. And that's what unsettles him the most. Not just the warriors, but the values they represent. Because sometimes it's not the strength of the enemy that weakens us, it's the clarity of their purpose. This verse shows us when fear speaks too long, it starts repeating itself. And when the heart is unsettled, even noble names feel like threats. And now, after listing those who stand against him, Duryodhana finally turns to those who stand with him. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the leaders on our side who are especially qualified to fight. It's taken 7 verses, but only now does Duryodhana mention his own army. Why? Because fear often starts by looking outward before remembering to look within. He addresses Drona with respect, O best of the Brahmanas. But even in that, there's calculation. He's trying to affirm loyalty because part of him knows Drona may not fight with his heart. So, what looks like leadership is actually an attempt to regain control. We all do this at times. We get so caught up in what we are afraid of that we forget to see who is already standing beside us. This verse reminds us fear looks outward, strength begins by looking inward, and true leadership is not just about who you command, but how you connect. And so, Duryodhana begins to name the mighty warriors on his side, starting with the most honored, the most trusted. There is your respected self, Bhishma, Karna, and Kripa, all great warriors in battle. There is also Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta. This sounds like pride, but if you listen with the heart, it's still fear wrapped in formality. Duryodhana names Bhishma first, the oldest, the wisest, and the most powerful. He adds Karna, his loyal friend, Kripa, the royal teacher, Ashwathama, the fierce warrior and Drona's son, and Vikarna, his own brother, even Bhurishrava, the son of Somadatta. But beneath the names, there's something more. He's not celebrating them, he's depending on them. His mind is clinging to identity, not inner strength, but outer titles. And we do this too. When we feel uncertain, we start reminding ourselves who we have, what we have achieved, who we know, not out of joy, but to silence our own self-doubt. This verse reminds us confidence built on others is always borrowed. True strength rises when you no longer need to name it. And now, as his list nears its end, Duryodhana adds one more line, but not without meaning. There are many other heroes also who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with various weapons, but all are experienced in military science. These sound like the words of a confident king, but they reveal the heart of a man still clinging to control. Prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. That phrase alone shows us how Duryodhana sees the world, through possession, not purpose, through authority, not alignment. Even now, he's reminding himself, they are with me, they will fight for me. But loyalty is not leadership, and warriors don't win because of obedience, they win because of conviction. We all experience this. When we feel things slipping, we hold tighter to people, to roles, things, and even ego. But true strength is not about who fights for us, it's about why we are fighting at all. This verse reminds us you can gather an army, but without inner truth, you are still alone. Real power lies not in numbers, but in purpose. Now, as Duryodhana looks at both armies, he makes a comparison, not of weapons, but of worth. Our army, protected by Bhishma, is unlimited, whereas their army, protected by Bhima, is limited. This verse seems confident, but confidence doesn't always mean clarity. Duryodhana says our army is unlimited, theirs is not. But deep down, he knows it's not the size of the army that decides a war, it's the spirit behind it. He compares Bhishma to Bhima, but they are not equals. Bhishma is old, bound by woes. Bhima is young, driven by justice. So, what is Duryodhana really doing here? He's not reassuring his army, he's reassuring himself. We do this too. When doubt whispers in our minds, we start talking ourselves into belief, hoping our words will become our truth. But when faith is forced, it becomes fragile. This verse reminds us a loud claim doesn't silence inner fear. And belief is not built on numbers, it's built on truth. And now, after listing warriors, comparing strength, and convincing himself, Duryodhana finally speaks directly to his own army. Therefore, all of you must give full support to Bhishma, standing firmly in your respective positions throughout the army. It's a command, but also a confession. Duryodhana isn't saying, stand with me. He's saying, stand with Bhishma. That says everything. Even as king, he doesn't fully trust his own presence to hold the army together. So he turns to the one he thinks everyone will obey. That's not leadership. That's dependence in disguise. We do this, don't we? When we don't trust our own voice, we speak through someone else's. We try to borrow strength from titles, elders, authority, but in doing so, we quietly admit we feel weak. This verse reminds us strength is not in giving orders, but in standing as the reason others stay grounded. True power inspires, it doesn't beg for support.